You know, somebody reminded me this morning that it was exactly a year ago that I preached my first sermon here as your new minister. I could not have spent a better year. I will tell you, it is wonderful to be here with you. The 20th century theologian James Luther Adams wrote that at the heart of Unitarian Universalism is the belief that revelation is continuous. Basically, this means that no matter how much we know, how educated we are, how much life experience we have, there is always more to learn. And most importantly, new truths and insights are available to us all the time. In every experience, in every person we meet, in every book or song or movie is a potential opportunity for us to come to know what matters most just a little more fully. Our prophets in this church are not just those old guys that wrote the Torah and the Bible and the Tao Te Ching. Now, we may gather wisdom from those sources, but we are not limited to them. Our prophets can be modern people too. People tackling present day problems and encouraging us to see some part of our experience in a whole new way. Now, being from Appalachia and a child of the 1970s, I have always considered country singer Dolly Parton to be a prophet of sorts. Many of her songs talk about love and life and survival in a way that speaks to me. One of my favorite Dolly songs is a tune from 1979 that is called "The Star of the Show." The lyrics go like this: "Life is a show, and the show will go on. The world is a stage, love's an act we perform. Beautiful music we made for a time, till she changed our tune and you added new lines. I don't play second fiddle in nobody's band, and I'm no backup singer, and I won't be a fan. I'm nobody's co-star. I just play leading roles. I don't want the part unless it's star of the show." Now, that song is, of course, about a love triangle. It's a woman telling her boyfriend that she won't share him with another lover. A song told through the imagery of the relationships within a musical group. But like all good prophetic messages, I think that song might offer us a glimpse at something larger than just its context. I think it speaks to that impulse within each of us to find identity amid relationship. Dolly sings, "I'm nobody's co-star. I just play leading roles. I don't want the part unless it's star of the show." I think there's a little bit of that sentiment in me, and perhaps, maybe probably in you. We all live life as the star of our own show. Each and every one of us sees this world through our own set of eyes. We know life through our own experiences. We judge how things are, how they're gonna be, by how they have been, how they are for us. From the moment we leave the womb, we know only our own fears and desires firsthand. Now, we can strive to practice empathy. We all feel compassion for others. Yet we never will fully understand what other people are really thinking and feeling. We can only be certain of our own thoughts and how the world appears to us. In our opening words this morning, Universalist minister Kenneth Patton spoke of how we arrive out of many singular rooms. Patton was reminding us that we each walked a totally different path on our way to this service today. Although the sun, or the clouds in this case, have not been up for that many hours, each one of us have already had our own unique day. A day filled with thoughts and hopes and joys and disappointments that only we know completely. Thus, we come together as a community of individuals, each on our own journey to a certain extent. Now, Unitarian Universalism is a faith that encourages us to get to know ourselves, to explore what we personally believe, and to have the freedom to proclaim who we are and what we think, and to be respected for it. This aspect of our religious identity harkens back to the Enlightenment, when philosophers like Friedrich Schleiermacher and Immanuel Kant asserted that the ultimate source of ethics and religious truth must always be personal experience. Our Unitarian Universalist affirmation of the inherent worth and dignity of every person is really just a way of saying that we are each important, that we each have a leading role to play, that we are each the star of the show. This is a vital part of our history and our identity as religious people. It makes us different from other religions, some of which call for abandoning personal convictions when they conflict with revealed divine truth. We UUs have faith in the freedom to be the star of our own show and to look inward to find what's true rather than outward to what we are told is true. We believe that this freedom allows us to develop more authentic beliefs, to find deeper meaning and truer realities than we might if we were just following along to someone else's script. This individualism and empowerment is what many of us love most about all peoples. It is certainly a big part of why I am a Unitarian Universalist. But another part, of course, of being a good UU is questioning, doubting and questioning anything and everything, especially those things that seem just a little too certain. Which leads me to ask, can we have too much individuality? Are there limits to our autonomy and self-reliance? Should there be? In our reading this morning, Forest Church pointed out that we can only get so far in our growth when our minds and our hearts are turned totally inward. Forest Church stated that the true goal of religious development is moving towards greater consciousness. And this consciousness involves becoming awake to a world of deeper meaning which lies beyond us. He points out the need to move away from our own reflection long enough to see the beauty and the blessings that surround us. Now, I have always thought of Forest Church, if you all are familiar with him, I've always thought of him being on the kind of liberal Christian side of our diverse Unitarian Universalist family. But in this reading, I think he sounds a lot like a Buddhist. Some of you may be familiar with the Buddhist teaching of Anatman, that surrender of self-consciousness. In Buddhist philosophy, the individual self or the soul is really nothing more than an illusion. The Buddha taught that all life is suffering, and the root of this suffering is our craving, our desire to be a separate, independent self. Enlightenment comes from letting go of that false premise of the self and opening ourselves to the truth of our complete interdependence with the whole universe. Now, I think there's something to this. I can tell you that This has been a beautiful, wonderful summer for me of getting out and enjoying some exciting things here in Louisville. It's been a little hot, but some of the weather has been terrific. But it's also been a hard summer. We've seen terrible Supreme Court decisions. We have seen devastating flooding in eastern Kentucky. You know, I was just the other day reading about a whole bunch of young children separated from their families at our southern border and housed in filthy detention centers, not just for a month, but some of them for years now. I was reading the other day, oh, thank you. I was reading the other day, did you know that suicide is one of the leading causes of death for Americans now? When I hear this stuff, when I see it, I feel sad about the state of the world. And I often find myself feeling helpless to do much about it. And when I see just how selfish and mean and violent and ignorant some people can be sometimes, it is hard to find love in my heart for humanity. There are times when it is easy to just give up hope. Yet I know that there is a lot more goodness, more generosity, more patience and kindness and compassion out there in the world than I can muster up and make real all by myself. If I can only rely on the feelings and the emotions that are running through my own mind in this moment, I am not going to be able to live by my values. I'm not going to be the person that I want to be. I can't keep going sometimes unless I can open myself to something greater than just me. I have found that in those crucial moments, when I am presented with some big ethical dilemma or experiencing a heartbreaking loss, and I'm afraid, and I'm angry, and I'm just lost, I need to pause and to look outward rather than just inward. At times like these, the path forward begins by surrendering, finding a way to get out of the way so that a greater goodness can guide me. Whenever I am aware that this needs to happen, I have learned to sing a little song to myself. This sometimes helps change my ways of thinking and get that process, that receptiveness started. It's a song by the Christian rock singer Toby Mac, and it goes like this. He sings, "If you want to steal my show, I'll sit back and watch you go. If you've got something to say, go on, take it away. I need you to steal my show. Can't wait to watch you go. So I'll step out of the way. I'll give you center stage. Go on and take it away." Now, Toby Mac is, of course, a Christian, and the you in his song is a theist deity. He is singing about his belief in surrendering to the love and the power of God, putting God first before himself so that the holy can come through in his music and in his life. While Toby Mac is not a Buddhist, I think there's an interesting parallel between his words and the Buddha's ideas about surrendering. For me, as a religious humanist, the best way that I find I can imagine that you in his song, that God idea, is that God is that goodness and that beauty that is embedded down deep in creation. It's a name for that larger web of connection which holds us all together. For me, God is that force which pushes me towards others, towards relationship, with the world rather than just further inside myself. God is the part of me that embraces life with my best foot forward, the part of me that looks like the things I preach about on Sunday morning. And you know, there are just times, many times in fact, when I need that to steal my show, to take the leading role, when what is going on in my mind or what is coming out of my mouth is not what I want or not what I know can be. One of the many things that I treasure about Unitarian Universalism, and the reason that I have committed my life to trying to build communities which support its vision, its values, and its principles, is that it encourages us, each of us, to take the leading role in deepening our spirituality and in shaping our world. Our faith does not teach that we are unable to do good, that we can't find wholeness and hope within ourselves. It does not tell us that we must bow down before some higher power that is better than we could ever be. Unitarian Universalism celebrates the potential and the mystery within each of us and affirms the use of reason and the truths of our experience in finding that potential and in understanding that mystery. Yet Unitarian Universalism also tells us that we are not the only star of the show. In order to be who we are meant to be, to realize our potential, we have to look beyond our own small role and witness the entire stage. We must see ourselves connected to something larger and grander than just us. Now, we can call that something by any name or no name at all. We can locate it in human relationships, in the seasons and the forces of nature, in ancient stories and rituals and scriptures, or just in the majesty of the cosmos itself. But in order to grow in that sense of consciousness, to become our best selves, to find the peace and the hope and the compassion that we desperately need, we must, at some point, surrender to it and let it be the ultimate star of our show. Imagine what this world would be like if we had political leaders who were beholden to the greater public good rather than obsessed with their own personal power. If we had energy and economic systems based on sustainability and protection of people and our planet, instead of systems that are driven by short-term profits and prosperity. Imagine if we had a society shaped by the truth of our unity and the spirit of cooperation, rather than defined by endless consumption, racial division, and dog-eat-dog competition. Imagine yourself not alone in navigating the trials and the triumphs of life, but with an ever-present support system, with that ever-present wisdom of a consciousness greater than just you. This is what our Unitarian Universalist principles point us towards. It is what we mean when we say we are people who respect the interdependent web of all existence. It is a spiritual discipline that takes practice and persistence. May we each play our part in creating that better world that we dream of, looking both inward and outward for inspiration, being mindful of the limits of our own knowledge and experience, and surrendering when we need to that bigger, more loving, and more compassionate reality that we know is there. And that if we are open to it, will renew us and will guide us on our way. So may it be, and amen.